Good morning, everyone. Let's start a new chapter. So this chapter is chapter 11, color. So the target for this chapter is to utilize CSS to apply color to different elements of HTML page. And as you know, color is important to assign different meaning to different piece of message. So for this chapter, we'll cover three important things. First one is that how to specify color. That means what's the format, or how to create a rule for the color. And the second one, we'll talk about color related terminology. So that's also related to different meaning of different meaning or different channels within a color. Maybe you have known before, you know color is composed of RGB, 3 channels, but maybe you don't have much detailed information about what is the meaning for RGB and how to mix the 3 RGB channel colors together to get some color you want to have. And also whether we have some different models for color besides RGB model. So this is the meaning, the second topic, terminology. And the third one, we'll talk about contrast. For example, if you surf on website, if the background and the foreground, their color are very close to each other, for example, the text and the background are very white, both are very white, so it's very easy, very difficult for you to read, so you feel tired, right? So that means this just a case of lack contrast, because the foreground and the background, their color are close to each other, so you cannot differentiate the foreground and from background. So this is the reason. So we need to have strong contrast. But the question is that is it strongest is the best? So too much contrast is also not good. For example, if I have a very long paper and then the contrast is very much, it will also cause the readability suffered. Okay. So that means we need to choose enough, sufficient contrast. Okay, sufficient contrast. The last one we talk about how to assign background color. Okay, background color. That's the other thing. That means not only the foreground but also the background. Okay, that's we can think about it as the fourth thing. You can specify color, terminology, contrast, and the background color. Okay, let's look at the first question, how to assign color. So for this one, in fact, we have 3 methods. So here we list the 3 methods. So also in the command, we mention we can know what's the meaning, right? So the first one is color name. If you know the color name, and then you can just directly write the color out. So in fact, we have 140 names which have been listed. That means we know we can choose from them. So yeah, you can refer, but you need to know what's the color it is for each one. The second one, we use Hex Code. So this one is just hex format. So you can find here. Let's look at. So it starts from a hex, and then we have 3 components R, G, and B. Each one is a hex, hex. So for example, we can change this one because this is RGB. We want to change to a gray level. So R equal to EE. And the E is for example is hex. We know it's from 0 to F, cat. So that's 0 to 15. Okay, EE is equal to F. So A, B, C, D, E, F, E is 14, right? F is 15. That's called a hex. Hex from 0 to 6 to 15. In total, we have 16 numbers. Okay, and then multiply by 16, right? And then plus 14. So this one you can calculate. The result is 224. And then continue for G, right? G is 4E. Similarly, 4 by 16 plus 14. So the result is 62. 62. Okay, it's 3, right? Okay, so this example is different from our book. So it's 64 plus this one, so it's 78. Okay, and the B color is 80, right? 80 is 8 by 16, so not decimal, not so we need to use not a 10, okay? It's 16, 0. This is easy. So that means finally the Rgb will be 224, 78, 128. So that will be the Rgb color. Finally, okay. So this is how we map a hex code to a Rgb format result. Okay, format color. And then third one is easy. We just directly write the Rgb. Okay, what's this one? So you can find it here. Later we also mention about this again, but in fact here we want to mention, you can find out 100 cat. So Rgb, so for each channel is a grade level from 0 to 255. So that means you can think about it, we mix 3 channels. Each channel is from 0 to 255. So how many red, how many green, how many blue you want to have, and then mix together you have the final color. Yes. Okay, this is the how we understand the color. For example, if each one is 0, 0, 0, 0, that will be black, correct? Each one is 255 strongest, that one will be white. Okay. So here we also want to mention, you can find in CSS we use like a C or C++, right? We use this. So just forward slash and then star to, and then another one is closing kind of is star and forward slash to add comment. Same as C++, C++ or C, right? Okay. And then let's look at its running result. So this heading 1 we use dark cyan. Heading 2 we use this color Rgb, right? And then paragraph P we use this one. So this is select P. This is the rules. Okay. So finally we got this one. Heading 1 we use dark cyan. So we got this one. And heading 2 we use this color. Okay. And then paragraph we use this one. So it's not black, okay? Not the complete black. So let's look at the code, because seems this one you didn't see the code, okay? So this one is a foreground color HTML for this code. HTML, okay? And then head, body. Okay, let's look at the body first. So we have headings. This is the content, okay? Heading 1, heading 2, and then paragraph. That's easy. And then we want to assign different color to each of them. So you need to define the rules. in the CSS file. So here we use the inline, just put this one inside, not external. So you use the internal one, okay? But you need to use the style tag and then define its type for the screen reader purpose. And then here we can find that we have a body h1, h2, and the p, right? So each one we assign individually. But you know the relationship between body and the h1, h2, hp, and p, right? So body is the parent. Within body you have h1, h2, and p, children, right? So this one will define the overall things. That means all the paddings and the font will be defined based on this one. Padding means, for example, h1, h2, p, and also body itself. You have a window, have a box, cut. For example, like this one. We can show the result, and then so you can find this one. The body is the window inside of the browser, which show the context. But here you can find that we have a padding. What it means padding? Padding means the content, the gap between the content and the border. So that means you will not show this. You will not show this result. Not show this result from the border. You will keep 20 pixels. Okay, because our screen is not squared. Okay, not squared. If it's squared, you may see it. Is squared. Okay, still have some border. Yeah, just left 20 pixels. So that means the content will start from 20 pixels. Okay, so the border. And then for heading is the same. So here we have heading. You can find a heading. So for this one we don't have a padding cut. For this one it's no, you just don't because the body already defined the padding. So the heading will just start from the border of the h1 box. Okay, that will be here. So that means heading 1. So for this heading 1, in fact, it's a box from here, from 20 pixels here, and then till the end. So your text content will start from the border. So there's no padding, no gap between the text and the border of the heading 1's box. Heading 1's box. Okay, similarly for heading 2. Okay, so they just start from the beginning of the box. But we assign different color to it. H1 is dark cyan, H2 is this type color, and the paragraph is this type color. And then it will do, for example, in default, you will use this font for all the headings H2 and the P, because that will be already defined for the parent. Parent H1, H2, P in default we will inherit them, because this define all the elements within the body. For here, for padding and for the font. Okay, and then color. If you want to change the color, you can change. If otherwise, it's the default color for body. And then you change the heading. The foreground color. That's the text color. Okay, so that's why finally you will get this result. For this one, we assign different colors to it, different color to each to different elements. Okay, So this is the first example. Basic purpose is that we need to understand we have three methods to assign a color. So answer our question, cat. Which one do you prefer? You can choose accordingly. But of course, for this one, it has advantage but a disadvantage as well. You need to remember what's the meaning for each name. Okay, what's the color? You cannot remember. You need to look for them. And then maybe it's a lot easy, right? But the second one is use hex code. This is second method is hex code. Okay, change this RGB color to hex code. So make it a seems conciser, cut. So it's tidy rather than just RGB a long tuple. Okay. And then, but if you prefer, you can just write out the RGB. That's also fine. Okay, so 3. So later we will provide more details for each of them. But here just give you an overview how to use different methods to assign colors. Okay. Okay. So here we talk about background color. So in the previous 2 slides, we showed how to assign foreground color. But here we talk about background color. So it's still assign color. So the only difference is that you will choose another property. Another property is just background color. So in the previous one, it's only just color. Color means the foreground color. If it's background color, you need to use the background and then bar color to indicate that is for background color assignment. Similarly, you can find here we just want to, the previous one is still not good. We want to assign a background color for each element. For example, overall, what's the body, the background color, and the heading 1, heading 2, and the paragraphs, what's the background color. So here we assign it individually. And after that, you can find we can get this effect. So overall, the background color for the body, we use this one, right? 200, 200, 200. So it's gray color, and the H1 is a dark cyan. So this color are the same, maybe not completely the same, right? I think we have a typo there. In fact, in the code is the same, right? The previous slide typo, that one is 4E, this one is 3E, and then will be the same. And the paragraph, the color will be white, that will be different, right? So that means the foreground color and the background color is different. Later we show them in the demo. So you can find okay, this is the color, and the color. So white for this one for this one, this one for this one. So the text we show it in white, cat, because if you show in the same color, you cannot see it, see them. Okay, that's why. Okay, let's look at the code. This is background color. So basically, you can find here these are the same, right? The contents are the same, but now we define the background color instead the foreground color. Okay, we may have some foreground color. So let's look at the first one. Is we define every text color to be white. In default, we use white color for every text. If we don't change it, for example, for paragraph, we change it, right? So but for headings, we use this color because this one will be within the body's children, right? All the children, so it's within this body. All the elements within the body in default we use white color. If not changed, okay. And then for the body we use this color for background, and then we have padding, cat. Okay, let's look at the background first. And the H1 use this background. So we mentioned cat H2 use this background. In the previous we use this background for this color for foreground. Now we use it for background. And but for the paragraph we use white. Okay. Because the text will be this gray. Okay, this like gray color, not that dark cat. RGB. Okay, and then let's look at the second one, padding. So the padding for the body we use 20 pixels. That means the contents, headings H1, H2, P. So all these boxes, the contents. Okay, we start after 20 pixels from each side. Okay, from the top, from the left. So and the right and the bottom, just a margin in between. And then for the H1, H2, H1, H2 cat, we explicitly write out we inherit. So we also have another 20 cat 20 pixels from the border of the box for H1, H2, and P to the text. Okay, that means the gap in between. Okay, then after running, let's look at this result. So look at this one and this one. What's the difference? Okay, you can find out. So we seems this one, the first thing is that the background color cut. So the box, okay, we assign background color for this one, this one, this one. These colors are these two colors are the previous foreground color. Okay, for this dark cyan we now use as the background, and this light cyan color we use it as the background. In previous is foreground color, but the text itself we show it in the white. And then for the paragraph, the background is white, and then text will be like gray color. Okay, this is first thing. And then we also change the padding, cut the padding. So you can find the, it seems this move down a little bit, cut marry this one. This is just inherit that one, cut. So we start from, that means we start from, not start from the border for the box, and then you can find here is closer to the border. Here is far from, because we add 20, I think 20 pixels more to the padding. Okay, that's the reason. So this is 20, this is another 20. So this is 20, this is another 20. Maybe in default we have something left from here. So that means we add another 20. That means not start from the border. Okay, this one is the same. Okay, all of them cut the same. The paragraph headings, heading 1, heading 2. Okay, this is for background color assignment. So it's still color, specify color. Just want to utilize them into two types of color assignment: foreground and background. Okay. Okay, now we talk about the second problem we want to cover in this chapter, terminologies. Okay, terminologies. So related to color, we have some terminologies. So later you will use this terminology to understand different methods. Okay, different meaning, and will be helpful for you to choose a good color for your elements. Okay, for your elements. Okay, let's look at the first one. Is understanding color. That means what is a color? So for here you can find we draw RGB, right? 3 color circle, right? R, G, and B. So red, green, and blue. So in fact, we just think about we use Okay, we use this to represent a color, and then in fact we can, for example, we can think about this is our screen, and then our screen, you know, we have a resolution. Resolution, that means how many pixels you will represent, you divide the screen to. So for example, sometimes we use for example, like this one maybe the 2000, this is 3000 around cut. So that means we defined because this ratio is also 2 to 3. So 2000 by 3000 resolution means we define the screen into 2000 rows. Okay, for this one, and define them into 3000 columns. And then for each one, this is a square. Each square we call it a pixel. Okay, so in fact, why you can see different image on your screen, just because we assign different color to each pixel, and then we can generate a image. That's the idea, okay? So how we show this one on screen. So now we usually use the LED screen cut. In the past we use a CRT cut. So that's like the older model TVs. So it's very thick on the backhand because they just use CRT. They will shoot some electrons, and then to hit, then it then shoot different color, and then ignite different pixels. But now we use LED. Use this one to have a higher resolution. So you can find that the idea is that we just use assign different colors to each pixel of a screen to form an image. Form an image. This is how we do these things. And then for RGB, for here in default we use grayscale. We mentioned it before. Use 256 levels. So you can think about we have different levels. So for red, so it's very red or a little bit red. So the 0 for something 200. So red, you divide red into 256 levels. So you can find, for example, we can find many maps. Many maps, they use different colors to indicate different meanings as well. This is the same idea here. So that means you just need to decide how many for each channel. So RGB we said is 3 channels. Okay, 3 channels. Okay, this is the first question. Second one is that how to assign the RGB color. Is better we use color picking tools. So for example, in Photoshop, in the Photoshop or GIMP. So this is the free image processing software. It's free, you can download. I also use this one for a lot of things. Okay, so it can process image, GIMP. You can open this and then can assign colors, because it's not easy for you to choose a good color just by trying the values. So it's good to you have a interactive method. For example, like this left, you have a color map, and then you choose something, and then you can zoom in, and then you get the values here automatically, or you can adjust. So for example, for RGB, you can adjust. So you have color palette. You want to choose some color with close to which one, and then you can do some final adjustment and then choose it. So for this one we have 3 types: RGB and Hex Code and HSV. So HSV is another one we didn't cover here, but we cover another one later called HSI. Okay, HSL, HSLA. similar like this one, but it's a little bit different. So anyway, we can use the color picking tool to choose a color. Okay, this is the second thing related to color, some terminology and the tools. So some other more terminologies about the color values. Okay, so we can use the Rgb values like this one, Rgb. Okay, that's easy, we already mentioned. So red, green, and blue. So Rgb. So you must adopt the same format. You can not change. Okay, this R, this must G, this must B. Okay, following the order. You can transfer this one to a hex code. So how to do that? So for example 102 and then divided by 16. So you got 6 cut, and then you got 96. You got 6. So this one is the first. This one is the second cut. So that's this one, and then continue cut. You can do for G, and then this is for B cut. This is the idea. So it's a transformation. Of course, you can just use some website to do this one, do it for you automatically. And then the third one is the color name. If you know the color name, for example, the color name we know it's this one, medium, core marine. Okay, we just assign this color directly. If you just choose from a limited number of colors, then you can do like that. In total, we have 146 colors which have been named, so you can choose from them. Otherwise, you need to assign the Rgb or hex code to it. And then we have another set of terminology called Hsb. Okay? So here H, hue, and S, saturation, and the B is brightness. So let's look at H, hue. Here you can find, for example, here we surround this one. We use a circle to represent. So starting from here, and then just turn around. So we use an angle to represent a different color. That means this angle will point to here. This angle will point to here. This angle maybe point to here, and this angle will point to here, and then continue for here. Okay, till the end. So that's the hue. Hue will be from 0 to 360. Okay, you assign an angle to choose a color, and the saturation means how much gray you want to assign from 0 to 100%. And the brightness is also same from 0 to 100%. So this is how much black you want to assign to the color you have selected, and this is how much gray. Okay, so gray and black. That's how we define a color in another method. Okay, HSB. But later we'll talk about this one in more details. So here we just want to introduce the terminologies there. So go for it again, cat. We use Rgb to represent the color. We ignite pixels on the screen to show images, and Rgb is within a range from 0 to 256 levels. So in fact, for grayscale image, for example, like a black image, we also use 0 to 255. Means all of them are just black. Black means they are the same color. R equal to G to B. Then you mix them together, you get a grayscale level color. 000 is totally black, and 255 totally white, strongest. And then for example 127 that's the middle, in between, not totally black, also not totally white. If you assign the same color, that will be gray. Okay, And then we use color picking tools to pick colors rather than just try and error. Third one, we have some terminology related to RGB, hex, and color. In fact, we already mentioned this one in the previous example. Okay? So also know how to transfer from each other between RGB and hex. And the color names. So we just define a set of colors. Hsb will be used to understand another type of color assignment. Later we talk about in the CSS version 3. We incorporate another method to assign color. So HSL, HSLA. Okay, this is for the second topic about color terminology, the first part. Okay, let's look at the third topic of this chapter, contrast. So contrast is the color difference between the foreground and the background. If there are much difference, we said the contrast is high, otherwise we said it's low. For example, here we show 3 degrees, 3 degrees of contrast: low, high, and medium. So for example, for the first one, the contrast is low, just because the foreground and background color are close to each other, like white. Okay? So in fact, for this case, it's not easy for people to read, especially like people who have the visual impairment or just color blindness issue. Okay? So not easy to recognize the text or the content differentiated from the background. So we feel tired after reading a while. And then the second one, the high contrast, is it good? Is it better? Is it best? In fact, maybe also not, because high contrast means the difference is too much. So we also make people feel tired easily. You spend like reading long content. Okay, so we can do by reduce the contrast in between, maintain some median contrast. Maybe just one is that you can reduce contrast by using, for example, we use dark gray text, but the background is white, or vice versa. We can use white contents and then use dark background, like this, cut of white. If too much, maybe it's not good. Of white text on the dark background. Okay. So when you design your website, also consider this, not only in the text but also image and so on. So just make sure it's comfortable for people to read your web page. Okay. So this is about this question. So here we talk about the opacity. So it was first introduced in CSS 3, but still continue to be available in CSS 4, the latest version. Okay, and then opacity means not just the other side of transparency. Correct? Our side is transparency, so that means it's not transparent. Okay, not transparent. So in fact, we use a value from 0 to 1 to indicate the opacity. That means if it's 0, means it's just transparent. If it's 1, means totally not apparent, not transparent. The degree of transparency it's lowest, right? Because it's reverse. Okay. So for example, here we want to add this attribute to the background, to the That means for the color. The idea is that here we draw two square, and then each square with a background color, and then we have some degree of opacity, and then we overlap these two squares. So we will still want to see the both. So that means we need to make sure they're not zero, not one opacity cut, but it must be between 0 and 1. Okay, so for example, p dot 1, this is to color, to style the first square, p dot 1. P means a paragraph. In the paragraph, we draw one, we show one, the first one square, and then its background color is 0, 0, 0, means it's totally black, and the opacity is 0.5. So that means it's not. That means we'll not block another square. And then the padding is 10 px 10 pixels. So that means we don't draw from the beginning of the paragraph. We leave 10 pixels to draw it. And the second one is the background color is 0, 0, 0. It's still the same cut, same 0, 0, 0. But you can find here we also use another rule to replace this one. So first one we define 0, 0, but second time we assign another color to it. So it's 0, 0, 0, 0.5. So here we have Rgba. So the A means the opacity. Okay, means we use A to indicate the fourth channel. Of course, we will only say we have 3 channels RGB. A means the last parameter. This is to indicate how much degree of the opacity. So this means 50% of opacity. Okay. So let's look at the. In fact, for this one, we highlight this one, opacity. We can also define opacity here. Okay. 2 methods. Opacity defined just apparently, that's explicitly. This is the implicitly. Okay, this is the result. If, for example, your browser supports opacity, then it will show like this way. Okay, both code I will show the demo later. Both code will show like this way. But if it's not support, then it will use the first rule. That means we set this equal to fallback to the previous. So that means if they do not support, then draw the color directly. Which color will be used? We are just based on the RGB color rule we mentioned before. Okay? So just ignore that part. Okay. Let's look at the example to see why this happened. That will be easier. Right? So that one means we just use this color and this color. Do not consider the opacity. But the second rule will be adopted because it's the latest one. Right? Okay, let's look at the code to see. This will make it clear. For example, this is HTML cut, and then head is long, body is very short. Okay, body is short. So here we have this. Okay, just we define. You can find it here. We define this as a division. The first paragraph as division, and then there's a paragraph 1. First paragraph, we give a class attribute to this paragraph is 1. The first paragraph. This is when we draw the first square, and then the second square. Okay. And then let's go to the style. Okay, that's the style. title is opacity, that will show in the tab of the browser. And then document type, and then we define different things differently. First is about division. So this division will define the size of this paragraph, right? This box. So that's division. Each division is the same, right? So we define its width, because this will show the first, in fact, it's just first square. Width, height, both are 100 pixels, and the margin is 40 pixels. Margin, that means we'll keep the difference. So this is the difference between the border and that means we left that margin to start. The border between the border and the box, the border box and the square borders. Okay. And then here we have a display inline block. So this is in fact we haven't covered data contents. In fact, this is called layout. So this is the inline block. That means so here we have a short description about inline block. It's close to another one is called inline. So this means we want to draw blocks. Okay, draw blocks, but we respect their margins. For example, if we draw the first one, the second one we just respect cut the margin. So we still leave 40 pixels to start the next one. Okay, this is that means you can consider this one as just big pixel. Draw the big pixel first, and then draw the second one, the 2. We need to respect inline block, so we respect the margin 40 pixels. So start from start from here. So this is 40, right? So this is 40, and then to start. So not start from this one, the same location. Okay, so this is the basic idea. So the major difference between this one is to set a width and height on the element. So this one, the top and the bottom margins or paddings are respected, but with this one they're not. Okay, so when we cover data contents, we'll explain this one in detail. Okay, it's one chapter about layout. Let's go back to the code. And then background color is this color. This color we mentioned before, right? It's like a cyan color. So that's why you can find it here, this color. So this is that means in default we choose this background color, but you can change, right? And then P is for this paragraph we define is width and height. Okay, this in fact is the size of the square, right? And the position is relative. So also layout. So we'll cover this one. That means relative from the previous one. We draw the second one is relative. Top and the left and the margin. Okay, so that means starting from where and then leave the margin. So anyway, this is just give the layout of the square. So it's not our main concern now. You just think about, okay, we draw a square based on this, and then the p1, p.1, p.2, this class, this is class select the descriptor, the selector, and then this one will change the color. So this one will change it to 000, means it's black, right? And then 2, this one will be 000, also 00, and then also the black, right? Also black. Background color will be this one. So let's consider this one. If they support opacity, then the opacity will be used, so you can still see the previous square. If not, you can just ignore this one or draw this one first and then draw this one. Okay, this is the idea. Okay, let's run it. So in fact this one support this one, okay, then we got it, we got this one. So you can find the first one we draw in this sign color, the second one we draw just like the black color, but it's because it's not a oblique not a opaque, so that means we still can see that it's like a gray. You can see the preferred. It's a mix of two colors. Okay, here we talk about Hsl colors. In fact, we already mentioned about 3 methods to assign color. So this is the fourth one. Okay. Of course, we need to mention some browsers support this, some browsers maybe not. So later we'll give one example. If it's not, what will be the problem? What will be the new? What will be the application rule? Okay. So let's look at the Hsl. The meaning, we mentioned this one before a little bit. Now we show it again. So for here, you can find the hue is more like the color. So it show all the colors. And then starting from this horizontal, you use clockwise, use the angle from 0 to 360 degrees. So 0 to 360 degrees. Okay, you just rotate. So this angle will be indicating a color you want to choose. Okay, this is first. And then saturation means how much gray you want to add to it. So it's from 0 to 100%. So you just use a percentage. And the lightness is how much black you want to add it. So this is the meaning for it. Okay, so that means we assign a color to 3 components. First one, you choose a basic color, and then you add a saturation. That means add a gray color to it, just like this. And then we add lightness. Okay, for example, this is choosing one color, and then if we add a gray, more gray to it, it will be from here to here. Okay, lightness. Okay, I think we need to from here to here, 0 to 100%. Okay, so this is the meaning. Just you choose a color first, and then we adjust it by adding gray and black color. Okay, some degrees. Here we have one example. For example, this we have 2 rules. Okay, two sets elements with assign rules for the style. So the body will first define it as a background color. So use the hex code, and then we define it again, still background color. We use the Hsl, and then 0% of gray, 78% of black. And then for the paragraph, so we define it in the hex. So this is the white color cut. So all of them are F. So if all of them are F are the same, you can just only use 3. That's also fine. So just hex F F F. They are equivalent. So only case is that if all of the digits are the same, we just use the first 3. And then we define the property again based on this one. So Hsla, and then 0 means the angle is 0, the starting, and then 100% for the gray, 100% for the black, and then 0.5 for opacity. Right? Same as previous. So now we want to mention about this. For example, when we define 2 rules, we mentioned before, okay, in the beginning. For example, some browsers will not support this one. Then we need to know which color we need to assign. Okay? For example, Hsl maybe is not supported by IE4. Okay, if like that, we need to define another rule. So this one will be used. So that's called a fallback. Okay. So fallback rule will be used. If we not support it, use the first rule. If we support it, use the second rule. That's it. So we can see the final result is like this. So basically, we just assign white background colors to different things, body and the paragraph. Okay, body will be like this, and the paragraph this one. Okay, we see the demo. So SLA, yes, this one. So this is the contents. In fact, this is just the first example we mentioned in this chapter. Cut the same, just one heading, two headings, or maybe not the same, two headings and then a paragraph. Maybe the second one with some example we covered before. So now we assign different style to it. So the body, that means all the elements will initially use these settings. Background color, use this one. Background color, use this one, because our browser will support, so this one will be used. And then color means the foreground color with white, means the text will show in white. And then padding, 20 pixels. So that will be just adding the space in between the text and the border. And then for the font, we use this one. And then for H1, we change the background color to be dark cyan, right? And then padding will inherit this one. So that means also starting from 20 pixels, not starting from the first pixel of H1. And then H2, background color we change it again to this one. And then padding also we use this 20 pixels because that's the parent element. And then for paragraph, we use this one because support. Okay. So IH hue saturation, and then L is lightness, and then 0.5 the opacity. Okay, foreground color, this one also inherent. So let's look at that's why it shows like this. Okay, let's run it. Okay, do a comparison. So initially the foreground will be used, that's this color, C8, this color. And then the heading 1 will change to dark cyan, that's this color. And the heading 2 will change to this color, like cyan. And then paragraph will change to this is white, but this is supported, so we change to this like white, but it's not very white. And also add opacity to it. And then the foreground color means the text color will be this color. Okay, padding. So you can find here all the paddings we start from. Okay, we start from 10%, 20 pixels cut. So that means we start from, so the body will start from 20 pixels, and this text also leave 20 pixels to show the text. 20 pixels. So that's the meaning here. Okay, and then the font initially we use this one if we don't change. So all of them just use Arial, like this one. Okay. And then, but the color of the text will be changed because we changed the color for paragraph. Okay, that's for this. This many is there. Okay, that's the just we change color based on HSL or HSLA. That's the main topic we want to mention here. Okay. If supported, we'll use HSLA. If not supported, we'll use the first rule. Okay, That's the idea here. Okay, here let's look at a relative longer example. For example, we want to show a table in a browser. So that's the browser. So this is the starter browser window, the body. And then in this one, we want to show like this way. This is pH scale. Just show how much alkaline or how much acid for different values. Okay, and then we also leave some margins in between, or we can say it's padding, right? And then but between different rows we don't want to add a margin, so this margin we think is 0. Okay, so that means for example 14, 13, 12, in between the margin is 0. So margin means different elements, the space between different elements, and the padding is between the contents and the border. Contents border, that's the padding, and the margin is between different elements. Okay, how to show this way? We want to show this in different colors. Okay, like this one. So basic idea is that you will just design different colors for different box. So box you can use paragraphs, and then within paragraphs the margin is make it 0. But you don't want to start from the border, so you add some paddings in front of the paragraph. Okay, that's it. That's the main sense. And the other thing you have learned, the headings and the color for the text and so on. Okay, let's look at the code. So for this code, this is the example. So it's 16 lines. It seems the longest one till so far. In fact, for the book, every chapter usually has an example. If you have bought the book, you can just read by yourself. Usually, I think is just a combination or review of the previous content, so I just ignore. We will not cover in the slides, but this one seems a little bit interesting. Let's look at it. Okay, and then similar. So we have body. Okay, we have a lot of paragraphs, 14 paragraphs for each scale. Okay. 0, 15, right? 15 from 0 to 14. And then we have the style to define. So define the body, heading, paragraph, and the paragraph class. Right? So different class will assign different value. Different class will be the different rows of that pH scale, because we need to show into different colors. Okay? So different colors. So we need to assign each class to be a different color. Okay? That's the idea. Okay, let's look at again. So first one, heading. Okay, H1 heading, and then 14. That's the for here. Okay. Okay, starting a new paragraph. So we need to add the text. This is the text. 14, very alkaline. Very alkaline. And then next 13, 12, 11 till 0. And then we assign a new same number as the pH scale value to it, to easy to refer them. And after that, because each row this represent though is the paragraph, in fact just we draw a row. Okay? We set each one is a box, and then we can show the background of this box, means this paragraph. And then for each paragraph, each box or each row, we need to assign different colors. So that's how we do that. Initially, you can find it here. So this is the same style body. So initially we assign the global attribute background color. Initially we use silver. If not changed, you will just use silver. So that's the color in between, cut the background color. And the front color we use white. If you don't change, we use white color. You can see here. So all the PHE scale values and the description we use white color. If you don't change, use the default one. And the padding means here 20 pixels. So that means the content between the content and the border. So this is for example, this is our body box, cut, and then the content starting from here. So you lift 20 pixels from each side. Okay, starting from the 2020, and then we draw the text. We show the text, show the content, and then font in default you use Arial. This is okay from this, and then H1 is heading 1. So for this one, we want to change it to some different colors. If it supports the HSLA, we use this one. Otherwise, also opacity, cut, opacity. Otherwise, we use the white color, right? And then the front color, the full color, we use this one. So to change it to be a different color. So this is not white, right? It's this color. And the padding will inherit. So inherit 20 means the heading box, the content, between the content and the box of the heading 1 will start from has 20 pixels. That's why you can find here we don't show from the corner, so we have 20 pixels. So for 2020 we show the PHE scale, correct? And then that's inherent. And then next one is the paragraph. Paragraph, the padding is 5 pixels. So padding is 5 pixels. That means where do you start the context, the content of the paragraph. So I have 5 pixels. So that's 5 pixels. So it's here, cut. So you can find the 14, the 1, between 1 and the border, you leave some space. That will be the 14, the 5, cut. So exactly it's here. Okay, it's here. This is the border, okay, the 5 pixels. And then the margin is that because in the paragraph, we have elements. Okay, we have in the body we have a lot of paragraph elements. So between the elements, whether you want to add some margin. So for here, to show a concise or show really like a table, so we don't want to leave margins in between, cut. So between each line, we don't want to add. When the first one show here, second one show here, we make the table too big, so we don't leave margins. So we reduce these margins to 0 pixels. Means there's no space in between paragraphs. Okay, and after that, so we assign each color respectively 0. We want to show which color. 0, show this one, cut, cyan, really strong cyan. And then 1, reduce it a little bit. 2, reduce, cut, so on and so forth. Okay, right. So that's here. Leave paddings, no margins. Okay, so this also concludes our chapter. In the end, we'll have some some summaries, so just read it by yourself. Okay, we put it here. This example, we move it to the front. Okay, because these two chapters not as easy as the previous chapters, so we already covered them in more than 2 hours. So in fact, this will be all the contents for the Thursday class. For this Thursday class, okay, and then we'll continue with the text chapter 12 for the next week. Okay, see you next week. Have a nice weekend.